guys don't mind, let's bow our heads for a prayer before you get started.
That'd be great. Yes, sir.
Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this day. We want to thank you for this opportunity to come together here with Mr. Duick, and we want to honor and glorify you, Lord, with this. We want to thank you for the message that he will bring across, and we just pray that that would sink into all of us teachers, for the Sunday school, Lord, that the message he brings would flow through us, through the students, and that you would be honored and glorified, Lord,
yes.
that we would be able to teach these students in a way that draws them near to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Way to go. Thank you. There you go. I do have a water bottle, and I got this as a gift yesterday. So I don't know if Community Church has bigger ones yet, because there might be a competition between churches. But if this thing was any bigger, it actually creates a bit of an arthritic problem in my hand. But I thought I'd bring it along just for narking a little bit. So, and I'll put it there and try not to spill on my computer. So sorry about a bit of the delay. We had some trouble with technical stuff, as there usually is in life. And I am excited to be back. My name is Eldon Duick. My middle name is Franklin. And that should help you understand that though I'm the youngest of 11, I'm the only one that actually has a middle name in my family. Everybody else is either just an initial or no middle name at all. So I feel quite proud of that. And my older siblings, I'm the youngest of 11, they got to choose my name, my first, middle, not my last name. And I thought, who does that to their children? Like, okay, kids, yeah, I'm just coming home with a baby. So, yeah, you guys have fun. Choose his name. So I came out with Eldon Franklin Duick somehow. Benny's been very generous to me, and he's let me use his truck, and he's called me and checked up on me and tried to see if I needed anything, so I appreciate that, Benny. And I fell in love with these Mentos things that I found in his truck. So is it stealing if I was eating from them? Like the other day, I had so many onions at Jalisco, that when I walked out of there, the inside of the truck fogged up, so I started sucking on these things just so that the truck wouldn't have a problem. So, Benny, I owe you $3. Is it about $3? You won't take $3? Okay. Well, see, now you know I didn't steal. I offered him money, but I'm taking these home, I think. Okay. Oh, and I found a credit card in the truck. That I'm not giving back to him until the end of the week. And I did book some flights earlier today, but not on his card. It was on something else. So thank you, Benny. These are very good, by the way. I'd be an advocate for these, but they make a lot of noise if you wear this thing. So, but after I'm finished presenting and when we talk at break, I'll make sure I have one in my mouth so that when I talk to you, you don't smell the beans I had for supper. Psalm 19, verse 14 says, "May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer." That's what I want to do here these next 6 hours. You may think, wow, that's a long time. Do we have to, be a student for that many hours? Well, I've been excited to be here, and I was excited in my preparation. And the last time I did the Sunday school event for community, most of the church showed up in the evening. So I said, how many Sunday school teachers can one church have? There was 140 people here. So anyway, Pastor Dave, as only Pastor Dave would do, is, well, don't worry about it, Eldon. Everybody here is a teacher. They have children or they have connections to other kids. So you just improvise as you go. Wow, for 10 hours I was making things up. But it was a good time, so it's great to be back for this. A couple of things that I think I need to just do to lighten the mood a bit, and that is, do you know which book in the Bible is an advocate and actually an advertisement for coffee? Hebrews in the morning, in noon, and night. There you go. See? Shriv di dol. Yeah, write it down. Yeah. Hebrews, your dad will like that joke. Going over the church finances recently, I found a receipt from a local paint store signed by somebody named Christian. I wasn't aware of anyone buying paint. So I called the store to point out its mistake. And he said, "I'm sorry." I told the manager, "But there are no Christians here at First Baptist Church." The Sunday school teacher asked the students, "Now, Johnny, tell me frankly, do you say your prayers before eating?" "Oh, no," he says. "My mom's a good cook. I don't have to." Another Sunday school teacher asked her children, "Why is it necessary to be quiet in church?" "That's because the people are sleeping." These are bad. They're bad dad jokes. My Sunday school teacher is so old that when the New Testament came out, she said, "I don't care for the new curriculum." 3 boys are in the schoolyard bragging about their fathers. The first boy says, "My dad scribbles a few words on a piece of paper and he calls it a poem." And they give him $25. "Oh," the second boy said, "that's nothing. My dad scribbles a few words on a piece of paper and he calls it a song." And they give him $200. "Oh," says the third boy, "I got you both beat. My dad scribbles a few words on a piece of paper, he calls it a sermon, and it takes 8 men to collect all the money." Anyway, that's just a few things that I thought about might be of interest to you as we start our time together. My question to you is, are you ready to teach? Sunday school starts next week, like the 25th or the 1st. Anybody know when Sunday school starts? Oh, by the way, you're teaching Sunday school. You're aware of that, right? You're here because you're Sunday school teachers? 25th? Well, that's this Sunday.
Yes.
Okay, so you've got to be ready for that. So my question is, are you ready? By the way, are there any youth sponsors here beside Youth Pastor Johnny? Youth sponsor? Oh, you used to be Miss Lowen. Ah, good. I remember the family name and your parents and stuff, so that's good. Welcome to Seminole. By the way, that's quite something to get used to. From Canada to here, I mean, we thought Canada was hot and humid, but getting in and out of vehicles and getting in and out of hotels and churches and schools, the temperature can be changed from 107 to 68. Do you know how hard that is on a body when you're not used to that? Like, I've had twitches quite often. And yesterday I phoned my wife and I said, "My foot feels kind of funny." I said, "I also get this hot flash in my foot, and I know I'm over 50, so is that what hot flashes are?" She says, "No, I think you're going in and out of too many hot and cold buildings." So she said, "Don't worry about it, you'll be fine." So I guess I'll be fine. But anyway. So I do have a handout for you today. So I was told to run off about 50, but I don't think we'll need quite that many. So I'll just start the process of you give one to Pastor Johnny there, and then you can pass some along there, over there. It allows you to take some notes, even though you can take your own. And if there's too many, just leave them at the end, and that's all right. Did you want one too? Okay, anything for something to do, right? I heard your distressed voice when you called your husband earlier, and you said, "Is everything okay?" I said, "Tell her there's a strange man in my office." Anybody else? Am I missing anybody? Okay, there's extras. Good. So I'm going to try to coordinate this using my computer and this thing, which are 2 different clickers. So if I get confused, don't be stressed. I'll figure it out as time goes on. So this one goes first, and then I've got to do this one. Well, what does Sunday school mean to you? What does Sunday school mean to me? And I have to tell you about my one Sunday school teacher that has impressed me for all my life, and I'm almost 68 now. His name was Ernest Coop. It was a very difficult year for me. I was in grade 5, and I ended up being quite sick for about 3 months of that year. So I missed school, I missed Sunday school, and I missed life as most kids would miss it by being in the hospital. I had a very unique condition, the doctor said. So I was in a room with very, very old people, old men. They were nearing expiry date. I don't know what was going on there, but I was scared. But my mom came to visit me every day, and it was a 20-mile ride for her to come to Virden, Manitoba to see me. But my Sunday school teacher came to visit me. He did. And then when I came back, finally for my first Sunday school class, he had a little welcome party for me. And I was like, wow. I mean, I had had a really bad fever, and I was weak, and I wasn't in very good shape. And that year, I also failed my grade 5 regular public school class because I had missed so much school, and I did poorly on the provincial exam. And Ernest Coop stepped up right away, and at the end of that school year, and you know how you take a break for July and August, and he knew I had failed my grade, because maybe my mom told him, I don't know. He brought me a card, and he brought me a chocolate bar. And he said, don't worry about it. You'll be fine next year. Well, I wasn't really fine for the rest of my school career because I didn't study hard at all the way through high school. But I'll never forget that my Sunday school teacher said, you'll be fine. And I did end up graduating from high school, and I went to Bible college and ultimately became a youth pastor. And then finally, I had the courage to face that feeling that I was not a good student, and I went to university because I wanted to be a teacher. That was where God had really been calling me. So I left the ministry to become a teacher. And the contact and the vision of my Sunday school teacher taking that extra time to bring me a card and a chocolate bar and to visit me in the hospital and to have a little welcome back party meant the world to me. We were only 5 or 6 boys in that class. The other neat thing he did, but I don't know that you do this anymore because I haven't taught Sunday school for some time now, but he would invite us to his home. And we'd play a little bit of frisbee or baseball. I don't even remember what we played, but we had a fire and we roasted some wieners on sticks he had taken out of the willow bushes. And it was just the best time ever. Well, now kids are so used to the big things, paintball, water slides. I mean, what can a little Sunday school teacher do that's still meaningful and exciting for the kids? And youth groups they'll attend big events. I mean, they'll also attend youth retreats and Bible studies. I get that. But what will a Sunday school teacher do that's meaningful? And so that's my first challenge to you, if I could just say to you, don't hesitate to do some of that really, really small stuff. Like, look how much my Sunday school teacher, Ernest Coop, who I still remember to this day, and sadly he passed away much too young in his life, but his impact on my life made me motivated to be a Sunday school teacher when I was old enough to do that. And I will never forget his words, his kindness, and his gestures of love for me during what was a very difficult time in my life. So bear witness to the fact that the smallest things, even if you don't get a response, whatever it is that you do, it's amazing what it could mean to a child. Do any of you have a story about a Sunday school teacher that means something to you that if you think back, you go, wow, that was unique? While I drink from my tank. Did you all go to Sunday school? Yeah, go ahead.
We lived in Manitoba when I was 11 for a few months, and then I went to Sunday school over there, and it was just something new that was taught to me, or that I thought was interesting. Like the Sunday school, like it would get too loud, so we're 11, 12 years old at that time, it would get too loud, and that teacher just pointed at the wall, and it was supposed to be like imaginary word respect, and everyone would just quiet down right away. All he had to do was point up there.
And there was no word up there.
There was nothing there, but everyone just knew that meant respect. And then
So if I do that this weekend, just make sure you look up there and you know what that means now. It's respect. Does that mean be quiet?
yeah, they were all supposed to quiet down.
What town was that?
Morden.
Morden.
Western.
Winkler.
Winkler, yes, at the Zamathal church.
Okay. I was youth pastor in Winkler years and 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 years ago.
That's so good.
Did I say years ago?
Like 24 years later, still that stuck with me.
That's okay. So do you do that now in your class?
Well, no, I haven't. When I was teaching the class, I have not done that. 'Cause
Okay.
I have 3-year-olds, and I didn't have very high expectations for them, but we'll see this year.
Did you all understand and hear what she said? So, do you try that at youth night? Just point up there and they'll go, what? Anybody else have a Sunday school experience? Did you all go to Sunday school at some point in your life? Okay. Anybody have a unique story other than myself?
I have a short one. So my Sunday school teacher, I was little. I was probably about 5 or 6 years old, and I remember her always smiling, very enthusiastic about her work. And she gave us a birthday gift. We didn't get a lot of gifts at our home, and it was very, very special to me. And it was a ballpoint pen, a pink one with a enormous, like a really big cap. And
Do you still have it?
I don't, but I know exactly what it looks like. If I would see one somewhere, I would know.
Would you buy it if you see one?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you hear her teacher gave her birthday gifts? She wasn't used to birthday gifts from being at home. I'm not sure what the reasons were. It wasn't customary.
Yeah, it
Maybe,
wasn't
yeah.
customary if finances were low, just,
Yeah.
you know.
So your Sunday school teacher sacrificed and bought a $1 pen, maybe? 50-cent pen? I don't know how many years ago that is. We can. Okay. Yeah. Anybody else have an impression or something that happened in Sunday school that left some mark on you?
My story's not exactly Sunday school. I used to be a teacher, and this was 6 years ago. And I remember it was my first year teaching. I was 17 years old, and I loved being a teacher. It was my dream from when I was little. It was the only thing I ever wanted to do. That first year that I taught, that class just really resonated with me. I got so close to those kids, and now coming here to church, I see one of my past students being a Sunday school teacher to my daughter, and it just warms my heart so much to see
Wow.
where they've gone to.
Did you hear all that on that side? She used to be a teacher, and one of the students that she had grown close to when you were a school teacher or a Sunday school teacher? A teacher in which school?
Here in town, here we all call.
Okay. And now one of the daughters of her student is now teaching her daughter. Am I?
My past student is now my daughter's teacher.
Yeah, her daughter's teacher, something like that. Yeah, that's neat how that just spins around and just creates a neat web. So, well, whether you've had a negative experience or a positive experience, both of those angles can be very, very defining, and they can motivate you. Like, I was motivated to be a teacher, and I did some of the same things that Ernest Coop did with us. Like, when I first started teaching a group of grade 6 boys, I invited them to my house, maybe 3 times, 4 times of the year. I don't remember exactly what it was. And we'd have a little party at our place, and we'd maybe play ping pong or something. I don't know. It wasn't very fancy. Or we would do some event together that got that group together and together with a Sunday school teacher. Now, again, that was in the early 80s, late 70s. So there wasn't as much to do for kids as there is now. Now there's kids doing everything everywhere, so it's maybe a bit hard to think, what could I even do that would be meaningful? Well, don't let that stop you. Because you think, I'm not going to take them paintballing, or I'm not going to take them to the water park. I'm not going to take them to the zoo. But if there's something small that you can do that resonates, like look at that, a pen, a finger pointing up to the wall, or now one of your students being a teacher to your daughter. Like, those are unique things. Or Ernest Coop giving me a card and a chocolate bar and telling me I'll be okay even though I had been sick and had failed grade 5. So it's a good time to kind of go through that and go from there. Now, do you know how actually Sunday school started? Way back in England, when there was lots of poverty and before the industrialization of the world began, there were lots of what they called street urchins, kids that were orphans and just running wild in the city, and they were poor and they were stealing and they were being abused by other people. And so one of the churches decided that they had to have school, and the only day that these kids weren't working in factories, and they were doing hard adult labor, they brought them into church on Sundays. They fed them, they tried to teach them some proper etiquette and some manners, and they started to teach them reading and writing. So that is really kind of that unique version of how Sunday school started. But then churches started saying, well, this is a good idea to teach kids separately from what they learn in school. Whether it's public school or private school, we can still teach them the things that are important to us as a church. And so that's where that transition came, and I think that's something that we should be aware of. Well, Jesus took time for children, and he stopped his journey to go to another place to meet with adults, to say to the kids, come here. Well, the disciples got up in arms, and they were like uptight about this. And in Matthew chapter 19, verse 14, they had quite a to-do going there between Jesus and the disciples. Because Matthew chapter 19, here it is, and verse 14. One day some parents brought their children to Jesus so he could lay his hands on them and pray for them. But the disciples scolded the parents for bothering him. Like the disciples, the 12 dudes. They got like, Johnny, you're bringing your kids to this guy? We've got to get him across the lake to go speak to adults, important people. Don't bring your kids to Jesus. And yet Jesus is like, what are you guys talking about? And he says, and I like how it says, but Jesus said, let the children come to me. Don't stop them. For the kingdom of heaven belongs to those who are like these children. And almost in an act of defiance in front of the disciples, it says, he laid his hands on the children and continued to bless them and pray for them. I'm sure the disciples were still standing there, fuming a bit and looking at Johnny and going, you thought you were such a cool dude bringing your kids to Jesus and you're wasting his time. But they had to stand there. Maybe he pointed up at the wall, I don't know. But they had to stand there and submit to Jesus' teaching at that moment and say, maybe we do need to allow Jesus to do his work. But he reprimanded them. And he scolded them. And I've always liked that passage because I thought, that's kind of cool that Jesus got a little uptight with the people and with the disciples and what they were thinking. There are a couple of things. Where do I aim this thing, Abe? At you? Up here? Oh, here it is. There are some different views about children, and these are in your notes, and you can add to them as you go along. But adults often have this view about kids. Oh, you're too far. Or maybe it's me. There we go. That students and children are often lazy and bored. Well, they often are a bit bored, and that shows laziness. And they often think of children as being disrespectful. Die Kinder haben nicht Respekt. Does anybody not understand Low German? These children don't, they don't have respect for adults and for the rules that we think are really important. And so there's even that view that says children should be seen but not heard. Did any of you grow up that way? Kind of that attitude that, stay back there. And you kind of knew that you had to wait your turn to say your little piece. And so parents and children just got that sense that they had to be respectful. And so there's that sense that, that meant that children actually are respectful. Well, I don't know that that's really healthy respect, but nonetheless, there was that view. And so when we get kids into churches and into youth groups and into Sunday school classes, I'm sure that you're sometimes wondering, what's with this child? He's just acting out, and he's vicious, and he's like all over the place, and he wants this and he wants that, and there's confusion, and you could see it. He doesn't know what he's supposed to do or she's supposed to do. And so we sort of think, why? Why is this child, acting this way? When we've been raised to be seen but not heard. I noticed that at the hotel this morning. There was a family there with, I think, about 6 children. And the youngest was very young. She was still in diapers, and the dad was busy eating his cereal. And the mom and the older daughter and the kids had to look after the baby. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. But you could see there was a clear picture of what that looked like in that family. And so even, all of a sudden I saw this teenage boy get up off of his chair, and he went over and, because the little brother was having trouble with the little girl, and he went over and he picked up the little, 8-month-old baby and took the baby off of that little boy's, and he was like 15. He had his hat backwards, and he had his iPhone out, and he held her and played with her, and I thought, wow, that's good training. But definitely more of a home environment that's seen and not heard, but obey and follow the plans. But we know that that's not always the case in our families now. So you have to be mindful of that as you go through that. So what are some other views that you might think adults hold about children? It might even be some of your ideas of what kids should be like. Anything that you notice that's different than from how you were raised or how you grew up? What is that? Or do they all sit nicely and quietly like you are? Yep.
Children like to debate pretty hard.
Some children like to debate, even at home?
Oh, yes. On expert level.
On expert level, yeah. What do you think about that? Do you like it?
It challenges me.
Okay. Do you like the challenge?
Yeah, I like to figure out what's going on I just have daughters, so in their head, try to see where they're coming from.
Okay. And you teach Sunday school too?
Yes, I do.
And do they debate with you there?
No, not as much, but they kind of, there's challenges there too. So.
Yeah. You were shaking your head or nodding your head. What did you mean or think?
They do not listen. If you tell them like over and over, they just keep on talking. It sounded like he didn't say a thing. And that was like personally me growing up. If my parents or my teacher would have said hush or something, we would be quiet. Like we would not say another word. So that's totally different from me now.
Well, start this pointing up at the corner.
I don't know if
Did you all hear what she said? Yeah, so she feels that kids often just don't listen even when you tell them to be quiet. What do you do when you get exasperated? Like when you kind of get, okay, nu smee dit een ouwland. What's that?
I stop debating.
Oh, you stop?
Yeah.
Oh. What do you think is the right thing to do? Is that the right thing to do, just to stop, give in? Not that you give in. De beste voorraad, dat weet ik je wat.
I have a question.
You have a question?
Is there a right thing to do?
Yes,
There is.
I think there is.
Please, let me know.
Like, it worked in my home and it worked in my classroom as a teacher and as a Sunday school teacher. If that debate was getting to the edge where I really felt like I can't cross that line because I don't know exactly what the answer is or what the solution might be to that question, I would say, okay, what's your name again?
My name?
Yeah.
Tina.
Tina. So, Tina, you've raised a very good question, and you're giving me all kinds of neat things to consider. And now, even if I was a parent, I would say to my son, Paul, you've got me stumped here right now, and I need to know what to do about this. So I'm going to write this down on my little piece of paper, and if you're going to come back next Sunday, I'm going to have more thought about that issue. Or as a parent, Okay, Christy. I don't know if that's your daughter's name. I can't remember. Was that close? No. Oh. Okay, Christy. I don't know exactly how to answer this. I can't make this decision right now. You're going to need to give me some time. I want to talk to Mom. I want to talk to Grandpa. I want to talk to a psychologist. I want to talk to a preacher. I want to read a book. Anything that gives you a bit of a grasp and you can say, well, I want to know now, Dad. It's not going to happen like that. You got to give me some time because you know what? You've raised some good points. See, adults often don't want to do that. And in my classrooms at school, it was like, well, Mr. Dewick, I don't agree with you, and this is the issue. Wow, well, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Instead of putting them down or telling them to be quiet, you're using a disciplinary tactic to try to divert their attention to the thing that happens to be important to them, even if they want to take your truck and go 600 miles away to do a horse show. I don't know if that happened, but it's pretty close, I bet. Check roll. Are you with me on this? It's not wrong. You are not giving up ground to your students, to your children, to teenagers, to your 2-year-old, or I don't know, she's not 2. You're not, but we feel like we're giving up control and authority. The best thing that you can do, and as a teacher in a school, I'd come back the next day and I'd say, wow, Christy, you really got my attention about that question and that debate that you raised or that question that you brought to my attention. I lost 3 hours of sleep because I got reading about it, and yes, I want to talk about it some more. But I have to tell you, I don't have a complete answer. Like, have you ever tried to explain to a child that Jonah got swallowed by a whale? Or was it Moses? And that somehow he circulated in that stomach and got puked out? Well, a young child's mind can't grasp this. They can make movies about it, and they can try to get you thinking about it, but they don't really, like, how do you explain that? So when they challenge you, even with a topic like that, what's important is that you read through some information about it to try to describe it differently or more completely so that it matches their thinking. And I remember Christy looking at me. Well, Mr. Dewick, you did good. I didn't have a complete answer. But what the child appreciates, even your own children will appreciate taking that time instead of, nej, ni har inte rätt. Nope. Answer's no. Look at the wall. I'm not making fun of your story, sister, about pointing up. Are you okay if I point?
No,
if
you're
I,
good.
yeah? You sure?
Yes.
I don't want to offend you
Oh, I'm not.
because I don't want Pastor Dave to hear about this. I'll just take another drink from my MEC cup. But does that help, Tina?
Yes, that helps.
I think you can do that even with really young children, because if you're scrambling and trying to find something in the book, or I'll quickly look on my iPhone and I'll look at my Bible app and the kids are all So if you take that time and say, I need some time to think about it. I mean, unless you are quite versatile and quick thinking on your feet. But when there's 6 children in your room and they're pulling on your skirt or your pants, or as teenagers they start getting pretty impatient, they want to take out their phone and look at stuff while you're trying to scramble up an answer for them, and you don't always necessarily have a very clear answer. And I think that's something teachers have to get used to, that you don't always have to come out with a complete and definitive, clear answer. But we often, and we'll get to this later, think, well, there are times in the Bible and in our training as people where we were told that this is the answer. But it's hard to keep their attention when you yourself don't quite know what to do with it. So I'd encourage you to try that. Okay. One thing, are you playing with my clicker or no? Are you electronically controlling me? When this next slide comes up, it's with a backpack, Abe, if you see it. Yeah, there it is. I think you can see that backpack there. This is a very dear topic to me, and not everybody agrees with me about this, but I believe that every person walks around in life with an invisible backpack. Now, my backpack it's even got a lock, and I got this 7 years ago for Christmas, and yesterday I found that it actually has a USB cord. I didn't even know that. I have to confess that to my son. But this is the backpack that people wear, and you have all kinds of papers in it, and my day book is in there, my password book to keep track of all my passwords because I can't keep track of them all. Right now it holds my iPhone and some vitamins, and I have a t-shirt in case I spilled coffee on my shirt and I have to change at break. That's what you wear mostly, right? Just a backpack, normal backpack on your back. But now if you can imagine that everybody is carrying an invisible backpack on the front of them. And if I would do that full demonstration for you, it's very moving, and often there's many tears. Because as I pull out a block of wood and I slam it on the table and I say, this child has experienced neglect. This child in some way has experienced some other form of abuse. This child might have huge mental anxieties. And do you know that more than not, children at an earlier age are experiencing anxiety and depression? And so whether it's the world doing it or whether we as adults don't have things figured out and we're not walking beside our children quite right, I don't know what all of the reasons are behind it. There's lots of factors that play into it. But if you think of a child coming into your class and you're wondering, why, Peter, why can you not just be more settled? But you don't know what's going on. Maybe he's got attention deficit disorder. Is that a thing? Maybe he's got attention deficit disorder with hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. Maybe he's got ODD, which stands for not odd, but oppositional defiance disorder. These are diagnosed conditions that psychologists have figured out that are real. Now, there's medication for ADD and ADHD, and there are some medications for children with anxieties, but we don't always know that. And we think that it's just being disobedient, and we look at Peter and go, why are you being so obnoxious? Why can't you pay attention? I spent 2 hours yesterday preparing this lesson. And if you don't know what the child is coming with, and even if they are slower learners, have you come across people that just learn really slowly about something? Like, I thought I was a slower learner because I failed grade 5. So I was very shy in my Sunday school classes and in my classes till grade 7 or grade 8. Till one guy decided that I could be quite funny, and I imitated somebody that we thought was funny, and I also became a bit of a class clown. And so that's how I got through school. I was enjoying my life. But did I want to study? My mom and dad would say, do you have any homework? I said, nope. Why not? I left it at school, like any smart guy would. Now, was I really avoiding homework? No. What did I believe about myself? That I wasn't smart. Because I failed grade 5. Now, if I look at my history in life, I went through college, went to university, then I went back to university, and they gave me something called a master's of education. Am I smart? Well, I'm better student than I thought I was, but I wouldn't say that I'm particularly smart. I betcha most of you could beat me in an IQ test. I don't know. But my point is that if my teacher, Ernest Coop, and my school teacher didn't realize they could help me. See, I was in a one-room school for grade 5 to 8. Well, you know how that works, right? Row 1 is grade 5. Row 2 is grade 6. Row 3 is grade 7. And row 4 is grade 8. You with me? Well, I was in grade 5 my first year with Johnny sitting behind me. And then I failed. And all my Johnny move over. Come on, a little faster. So he moved to grade 6 row. But where did I stay? I stayed in grade 5. You know what my teacher did though? You can go back now. Go back to grade 5. You know what my teacher did? He was very, very smart. He put me at the back of the grade 5 row. You getting me? So I was at the very, very back grade 5 row, and it's like I was almost sliding in, and he came to me and he said, if we get one more grade 5 student, I'll move you to the back of the grade 6 row. Det guy vi klok. And I became best friends with a guy that was in front of me, just like Johnny would with me. And Danny and I became close friends in grade 5. Never skipped a beat for him that I was in grade 5 for the second time. And we've been friends ever since until he passed away just this summer. So things go fast. But we need to know what our children are carrying in that invisible backpack. So if you haven't envisioned it yet, this is what an invisible backpack looks like. You can see it, right, Broda? Yeah. But pretend that you can't see it, because how many people walk around like this? Maybe you do with your baby. Do you do the front baby thing? Okay. But mostly we expect backpacks to be where? In the back. But if you just imagine that you don't really know much about that child, and you wonder what's going on and why they're being different, try to envision, is there something going on in that child's mind and in that child's life that we don't know about? Maybe nobody's told you. Maybe you don't know that family. Maybe they're new to the church. And instead of thinking of them as disrespectful or thinking of them as not listening, we need to examine what it is about their life that might be impacting their ability to listen and pay attention. Are you with me on this? You don't have to agree. Does anybody disagree? See, we often think too, like I went through a hard time in my life. I've come from a large family. I was the youngest. We were poor, but my family loved me beyond measure. Like I got thrown around from one person to the next as a baby, apparently, because it was fun for them, right? But there was love in that. And so my circumstances, and even when I went to college, my mom and dad were still poor. And I'll never forget my mom coming to the door with me. And as I left the house to drive back to Bible school, she would give me, "Na hier sind Vincent Podola för en bit gas." So I grew up being nurtured. This buys you 1 tank here, or 1 gallon right now. Back then it could buy you a whole tank just about. My little Ford Falcon. But we don't always know those circumstances, and so we have to be mindful of it. We will get to more points about what you made, ma'am, about whether or not children are just being disobedient and disrespectful, and how can we bring that together. That's coming a little bit later tonight and more tomorrow night when we actually talk about some of that. And because that's one of the questions Benny sent me, is there a way to have a better sense of discipline in the classroom? My boys were in grade 9, and we were still taking our kids to Sunday school at the E-Free Church in Steinbach. And the Sunday school superintendent came to me, as they often do, not to me, but to anybody, like, would you please consider teaching Sunday school? Who's your superintendent? Is he? Or Ben? Who's the superintendent of the Sunday school? Oh yeah, she's gone. So like they come tapping on shoulders. You got time? Could you do it? And you go, oh, I don't want to do it. Oh, I don't know if I can do it. And they beg you kind of nicely, and lots of spiritual emphasis. Could be good for you. But where is it going with this? I started on that route somewhere. The Sunday school superintendent is begging you to be a teacher, and you're not even sure that you want to be one. But we're going to get to even some of that attitude and some of that issue of what that's like. And so we need to believe that God is calling us to something, even though it's a daunting task that is sometimes a bit overwhelming. So this is part of the next thing here. I'm a Sunday school teacher because there are not enough volunteers. Oh, I know, I was talking about discipline. Benny sent me the note, how do you keep a class disciplined and in order? So we'll get to that. So why am I going to teach? Well, there are not enough volunteers. LOL. Do you know what that means, LOL? Laugh out loud. Because of course that's not why you did it. But actually there aren't lots of volunteers. It's sometimes hard to find volunteers for things. What? I have to teach? What grade do you teach? 12-year-old. Oh, yeah, that's good. Boys or girls? Mixed. Fria, then we did separate till maybe 18. Yeah, good for you. Oh, I know what I was talking about. So when my boys were in grade 9, the Sunday school superintendent came to me, tapped me on the shoulder, and says, I know you're busy, you got this thing going at school, but we really need a teacher for the grade 9 class, boys class. Okay, that was my son's age. That's how they pick on you, kind of. You do your own kids, so very often. So you go, okay, I'm taking my kids to Sunday school anyway. Sure, my boys, yeah. I said, boys, you okay if I teach your class? Yeah, that'll be all right, I guess. We're used to you babbling all the time anyway, so go ahead. Well, the other grade 9 boys teacher class decided at the last minute he wasn't going to teach after all. So the first Sunday I came to teach that class, there were 33 grade 9 boys in one room. That was a tougher job than teaching 30 students in my class in high school at the local school. 33 grade 9 boys. And I had one guy that had such high ADD and ADHD and all kinds of issues. He was in trouble all over the place in the community. And he was in that class as well, and with my boys. And so I just texted my sons earlier tonight and I said, what was that thing that happened in grade 9 Sunday school class that was so funny? Because they keep talking about it whenever we're together with the friends from that class, because I did something pretty silly apparently. But they still even have a memory of that. But I mean, 33 grade 9 boys to teach a Sunday school class. I mean, I felt comfortable doing it because I was a trained teacher by that time. So for the rest, some of you, that might be a bit of a big task. But nonetheless, they tapped me on the shoulder and I did it. And it only, Sunday school teaching only takes 1 hour per week, right? Say something. Does it only take 1 hour? No? What do you mean, not?
Teaching, yes, preparing not.
Oh, teaching, yes, but preparing not. Yeah. Have you ever tried to walk into a class and just open your book and try to teach right off the lesson? Don't answer. I've done that sometimes too, and I thought, yeah, I think I know this. I saw the title last week, Sunday, when I closed the book. I'll be all right. And then you go into class, you go, that was not a good move. But most of you, I'm sure all of you are here because you believe that Sunday school is an important part of church. And that's why we do it. And that's why we put up with some of the grief, some of the sorrow, some of the stress of wondering, where are these kids coming from? Don't these parents know how to train their children so that we can get through this properly? And so, but you do it because you believe it's part of the mission of the church, and that's good. And I'm believing for you that you're trusting God as you risk and take that step to get out there and do it. And for some of you, is it out of your comfort zone? When you first did your first class, yeah, you're nodding your head. Why was it out of your comfort zone?
Because I was debating whether or not I wanted to do Sunday school for years, and finally I took that step and I went into it, and it was just very nerve-wracking dealing with 13 7-year-olds.
13. That's a lot. Wow. So you were a bit trembling.
Yes, it was a bit overwhelming, but I mean, it was a lot of fun. I loved it. That's why I'm doing it again.
Oh, is this your second year?
It's my second year.
Wow. Let's give her a hand. That's good. I'm sure there are other stories like that, right? Where you go, I'm not ready for this. I'm not qualified for this. And then you end up with 13 or 33 or 6 4-year-olds, whatever the case might be. And do any of you have your own children in your class? You will on Sunday? Nobody else has their daughter? Do you have your son or your daughter in your class? Daughter, okay. No, nobody. No. What do you find easier, to have your own kids in your class, or better not have them?
So my son was in my class last year, and it's easier, probably, he's probably less rowdy when he's in someone else's class. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of makes, thanks for being clear about that and honest. That's right.
I heard this mama say the same.
What did you say?
I had my 2-year-old last year.
You had your 2-year-old in a class?
Yes, I was his teacher. And
Just a minute now. Do you have 2-year-old Sunday school classes?
yes.
How early do you start in this church? You didn't tell me this, Benny. Really? 2 years old?
1-year-old teacher. I guess I'm actually more a babysitter because I just make sure they don't eat the Play-Doh, they eat the fishies.
Did you hear that? She has to make sure they don't eat the plate. They can eat the goldfish. By the way, I saw a tremendous stack of goldfish in the library, or in the... I was tempted while Benny and I were stapling these papers together to just put my hand in there and start eating, but... So you taught your 2-year-old Sunday school class, and your 2-year-old child was in there.
Yes.
And was that good? Challenging?
I think for him it was easier for me to be in there because he didn't want to be in there without me, but he was also the most difficult one. Like he...
Did you hear that?
So...
Now, she seems like a really nice person, and yet her child was the most difficult one. So yeah, I'm glad you're being honest. This is good. This is good.
So now he's going to move over to her class, so we will see how that will go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you looking forward to it a bit more without him there? Sorry I said that, but I mean it in a nice way.
Yes and no. I'm just nervous about him being shy.
Okay. So this is a good thing. You just brought up a good point that I don't want to forget. And that is that when you have taught 1-year-olds, well, that's not teaching, but whatever that is, gold fishing with your little 1-year-olds, when you have a child that's leaving you with some concern, even by the end of a whole year, because you end in May, or do you go right to the end of June?
August.
What?
We go straight through the year.
Like this last Sunday was our last Sunday with our kids.
That's why the question was so weird when you said start Sunday school. I've been in Sunday school all year. Like,
We go all year. We just do Sunday school promotions now this coming Sunday.
Well, this is getting better by the minute. No wonder you all look kind of stressed out. Nobody told me this was the case. You're all burnt out. You're a bunch of just hanging on and gasping. And now we got to go to a 3-day in-service, a conference about how to teach Sunday school. And you're just like schlucking. All right. So that's why you looked at me like I was from Manitoba. Okay. So, I don't know if you're all teaching the same grade or if you're moving up with your grade. How many of you are staying in the grade or the class that you're in? Like the same age? Okay. How many of you are moving up with your class? Nobody. Okay. So, are there any new teachers that aren't here to your knowledge? We don't know that because Bertha's not here. Okay. Thanks, Bertha. Okay. So here's the thing. This is a good time, and I think we'll take some time for this on Saturday morning, where you go to the next year's teacher of your kids. And even if there's 2 classes of grade 2s next year, and are there 2 classes of grade 1s this past year, or is it just you?
Well, we have
Okay. Okay. So, but let's say you would then go to Tina and you would say, my son is coming to your class, and you've probably already had a few conversations, half-hour coffee times together. But where you tell the next year teacher something about your students, and where you let them know that there are some things that were of a bit of a concern to you. Are you following me? And so your 12-year-olds, Peter, yeah, he's writing so busy. He's a very engaged student. If I had a sticker right now, check more. I'm going to give this guy a sticker. Gold
star?
Yeah, gold star. He's just shaving away there. But if you go to the grades, what would that be? Grade 12 is grade 6? Grade 7? So who's the grade 8 teacher? Okay.
That would be considered youth, right?
Grade 8 is youth.
Grade 8 is when they start coming into,
Well, then you have just one big, huge group?
yeah, grade 8 is, well, a lot of them are still grade 8.
Okay.
14 is grade 8, some grade 9.
So, do they come to your class? Or don't?
As they turn 14, they come to youth, and then they're in the youth Sunday school. That's through,
But is that you?
and a little bit beyond, yep.
Okay, so you teach those kids. So then you would talk to, who's the other grade 12-year-old teacher? Just you?
My substitute's not here today.
What does that mean, my substitute?
My assistant or my other teacher.
Oh, but you don't split the kids up?
No.
Oh, they're just there to...
Class, just if I'm not available. then
Oh, okay,
fill
okay,
in or-
okay, gotcha. So this would be a good time for us to take a bit of time to at least share with the next year's teacher what maybe transpired in this year. Now, you probably already know most of the kids and the youth, but it would still be good for you to talk to our star writer here and dialogue about that. But thank God you have all decided to step out of your comfort zone and say, I'll take that risk. I've been nervous for 13 years about teaching Sunday school, but I want to do it. And you're taking that risk and you're stepping out of your comfort zone to do it. And so it's okay if you flop a little bit. It's okay if things don't turn out right all the time. I have yet to meet, honestly, yet to meet any teacher in a school, any youth leader, any teacher in a regular school who has had just the perfect class for the whole year, for every day, for every time. I have flubbed lessons where I thought, I don't think I was even worth my pay. And as a volunteer church Sunday school teacher, I thought, oh man, I'm glad there was nobody recording this lesson. And of course, you appeal to the children, don't go home and tell your mom and dad how badly this went. But when you step out of your comfort zone to honor God, He does ordain you. He does put His hand on you. And He does say, like He did in reverse system to the disciples, let the children come to you. That's what you're doing. You're doing what Jesus said. Let them come to me. Even if I go home and I don't have a great Sunday afternoon because the Sunday morning didn't go well, or even if I'm grabbling and graming about that kid all week, do what Jesus did. He said, just come, and He laid hands on them and He took time for them. And even if you don't do that physically, you can do that mentally and throughout the week as you're driving from here to Hobbs or whatever your work might take you, Lubbock, and you think about the kids. If there's nobody nattering in your ear about something or your phone isn't ringing constantly. But wherever you have a moment, it's a good idea. Just before we take a break now, I taught for 10 weeks just now. I'm trying to be retired from my job as a school teacher back in Stein. Yeah, you can take that off now, but draw a picture of a star on there for me, would you? And make a nice star on there, yeah. I had the privilege of teaching for 10 weeks from the middle of April till the end of June to a group of very, very difficult children. They actually weren't children. They were almost all bigger than I am. And they were in high school, and we called them at-risk students. And if you can only imagine what at risk means, it means that they're very high needs in one way or another. And it's mostly not smarts, it's all the other stuff: behavior, drugs, trouble with the law, and really, really messy. And they say words to you that they really shouldn't say to a teacher or in the presence of a teacher, but you have to work with that. I don't kick them out of my class just because they get mad or they say something out of their distress, because some of them came from very, very dysfunctional homes and backgrounds. So I stepped out of my comfort zone of enjoying driving my garden tractor to working in that environment. And I would not give up those 10 weeks. Because what we do matters. Whether it's here or in a rough classroom like I experienced. I got the weirdest and cutest gifts from kids and things written on notes to me that still, as you can tell, move my soul. But I was obedient to God. I didn't really want to do it. I wanted to mow my lawn. Well, I couldn't mow in April yet, but I could snow blow. I could mow my lawn starting in May. We were going to go on a nice camping trip to the East Coast. But somehow I just felt God wanted me to do it. And my friends, they were my worst enemies about going back to school. It's like I was breaking the law to come out of retirement to teach for 10 weeks. But I wouldn't trade those weeks. So, in the depths and the bottom of your heart, believe that what you're doing is making a difference. And it's not just for now. You may not notice much of a difference in 1 year or 2 years or 3 years as these kids bounce from one class to the next. And I'm not even just talking something noble and really neat like eternity. I'm talking about 10 years from now when they come back to you and they tell you something about what you meant to them. So as tough as it gets sometimes, and okay, you don't get much of a break, obviously, in this church from teaching Sunday school, except your substitutes. But when you start again, and I know your new class starts this week, find time, even this weekend, to get energy from God, because He will empower you through the Holy Spirit, even though it's like, man, we just finished a whole year of Sunday school, and I get a new batch on Sunday. Trust God for it. Oh, I have to read you one little joke. I just have to. I'm sorry, and then we'll go for a break. A preacher. John, this is for you, a preacher. Make sure Dave hears about this. A preacher visits an elderly woman from his congregation. As he sits on the couch, he notices a large bowl of peanuts on the coffee table. He looks at the older lady and says, "Mind if I have a few?" No, not at all. Go ahead, replied the older woman. They chat for an hour. And as the preacher stands to leave, he realized that instead of eating just a few peanuts, he emptied most of the bowl. "Oh, I'm terribly sorry for eating all your peanuts. I really just meant to eat a few of them." "Oh," she says, "that's all right. Ever since I lost my teeth, all I can do is suck off all the chocolate." That didn't happen back there in Mary. Charcuterie boards are safe. Okay. Try to be back for 8:30, and then we got a half hour to wrap up.